Well. And welcome to the Go Spurs Go Memes podcast number 38, live but recorded from the Go Spurs Go Memes studio. I am your host, Ray. In studio with me today, Buddy and Frank. Gentlemen, the Spurs are on summer vacation.
That is so depressing. This is not what we were expecting, but at the same time, it is what it is. We have to move on, and what the hell happened?
I don't even know where to start with that. I mean, it was just a complete debacle.
Where do we start?
I think 5 minutes into that game, I was already telling you guys, all right, we're done.
We're talking about Game 6, right?
Yeah. Game 6 was like, all right, it's done.
Oh.
You could see it in their faces. You could see it in their body language. It was just done. I don't understand what happened. It just...
Well, I can tell you what happened.
What happened, buddy? You tell me.
I mean, they were completely out athletic, if that's the word.
Again with that word.
I love that word.
That word. The athleticism just killed them. I mean, people like Durant and Westbrook, they had no answer for them to be able to, like, they'd go on a little run, and then those two would just, like, blow up.
Hell, I'd say they didn't have an answer for Adams. They didn't have an answer for Waiters. I mean, it was just Oklahoma City clicked at the right time. They took it to the Spurs. We couldn't respond. We had nobody creating their own offense, and I think that was a big issue for us. LaMarcus went cold. Kawhi tried. Timmy tried in Game 6. They really, really did try, but it was just too little too late. Oklahoma City just had that foot on the neck, and they just smashed it, and they were in the Western Conference Finals.
I have to say, what it came down to is that perhaps San Antonio was showing their age. It just looked like they just ran out of gas. They had nothing left in the tank.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that the gas was out of the tank. Mm-hmm. You could see it in the age because there were times that our boys just looked really, really tired.
Yeah, Ginobili, to begin with, once again, his hands were on his knees, looked like he was sucking air, and looked like he was playing 5 minutes, 2 minutes too much. It was really almost disappointing, like so disappointing that after they lost, they decided to get on a plane and get out of here.
What's so crazy is that the game, even though the game was such a bad disappointment, I was very happy about the way they went out. They didn't go out like complete punks, and they fought back like really hard in the fourth quarter. They fought really hard.
You kind of have a point there, but
they were down 30. Remember, they only got down to 13. I was like, oh my god, what in the heck is going on?
And then I think we got down to 10, and it was like, oh my god, what's happening here?
Everybody was freaking out, and I was like,
but it was just too little, too late. But I really do feel that we did not have any effort in the first or second quarter,
and second quarter especially.
It really fell apart completely, and I think that's where we started hearing even more about what's his name? I forget the Oklahoma City head coach. I always want to say Brooks, but it's not Brooks. Billy Donovan looks like Eddie Munster. He, they were saying that he outcoached Pop. And I kind of felt from the beginning, I said this last week, is that I don't really think that he was out-coached. I think that we were out-executed. Right. Our guys were just not executing it on. Even Pop trying to move players around and switch up rotations, trying to stumble the Heat. It just didn't happen. There wasn't really anything that they can do to mess up what Oklahoma City was doing.
And what's crazy is that, and the biggest thing, like you were saying, is that they could not create their own shots.
Not at all.
And that's something that they really need to concentrate on when it comes down to summertime, which we'll talk more about. But not creating shots and getting a score when you need that score is what killed them, especially like when Aldridge and Leonard came out. No one scored.
No one scored at all.
Anyone scoring consistently at all.
No, Danny Green wasn't present. Patty Mills wasn't present. DL didn't even see the court, which I think is kind of foreshadowing something to come. But there was really nobody that came off the bench to light this team. And again, going to go back to what Buddy and I have been screaming at the top of our heads all season long. We said it in the preseason. This team starts off slow. We were in desperate need of some spark to come off the bench. That didn't happen, and it just went south very, very quick.
Everything that was happening during the regular season just didn't. Where was West? Where was Ginobili? And I really think... finally, you start getting more minutes. I almost wonder if Popovich kind of conserving play time and minutes throughout the season, if this actually affected them. Because all of a sudden, if you're used to playing 20 minutes, half an hour, and then all of a sudden you have a game 40 minutes, what does that do to your body, especially later on in the series?
That's a very good point, Frank.
But the thing is,
ahead, bud.
that weren't we?
Well, that was
talking
a point.
But
Yeah.
no, weren't we talking the whole praises of how Popovich conserves his players and about how he's the best minute manager out of anybody
Well,
in the
not
league?
just that.
And then how in the heck do they get tired at the end of the year? I mean, how does that make any sense?
And the funny thing is, it's not just that about the time management and getting rest for our players, but we repeatedly heard this doesn't matter, this game doesn't matter, this week doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
because it's playoff time. Well, the playoffs are here, and everything that we said, hey, this is a concern, is exactly what we saw against Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just like they just showed every weakness that they possibly could have shown at the time. I think a lot of what their winning time was fool's gold in a lot of ways.
Right.
I mean, we just played a lot of inferior teams at the right times, and that's why
I think you could say the Spurs had the benefit of a very favorable schedule.
Yes.
That allowed them to go on so many runs. It was a record-breaking season. Expectations were really high. But I have to say, if you took off the black and silver tinted glasses, saw the whole picture, there were real genuine concerns there. And I think if you saw it that way, you saw the big picture of what was going on, I think that you could very easily say, hey, the Spurs may be in trouble when we get to the playoffs. Hey, we're probably not going to make it to the Western Conference Finals. Hey, we're probably not going to make it to the NBA Finals.
I don't think you guys said Western Conference Finals.
Well, we kept saying NBA Finals, yeah.
I think we said Western Conference Finals, they would make at least that.
Yeah, I was very confident in saying I thought we would take the Thunder very quickly. I think
You said sweep.
Did I say sweep?
No, I think you said
No, I
five.
said five, right?
I said 7. We all were
seven.
wrong.
Yeah, we were
Everybody in the city was wrong.
Everybody was wrong.
Everybody was wrong.
But I mean, we were expecting this juggernaut Spurs team that we had seen during the regular season. But I think, like you said, buddy, it was just fool's gold. We were just expecting a team that just really was never there.
I really think, give credit to the Thunder. They peaked at the right time. I mean, when you have both Westbrook and Durant, having the games that they did, and it just looked like the way they were going to defend them is shut down one, let the other beat you. When in fact that really didn't happen because he had Adams right there under the paint. I don't know where this guy came from. It just
what a
seemed
breakout
like
party for Adams. Like if you really think about it,
he
just came out of nowhere everywhere.
And he kind of did that to Golden State in Game 1, and we'll get to that later. But you do have to give credit where it's due. I said, hey, I feel the Spurs are going to win in 5, and I said, hey, I was wrong. I was completely impressed with the way the Thunder played. Hell, I even said that I expected Golden State to sweep the Thunder in this round. And Oklahoma City went into Oracle and beat Golden State. And I was completely blown away by that performance.
Well, think about it. I mean, really, the Thunder are playing like a championship team right now. So at first, we were saying for this series with Golden State and the Thunder that this game they would sweep or they would win in 5. Golden State would win in 5. And now it's looking like it may be a long series.
It might be a full 7 games, yeah.
Yeah, here we are in Game 2 already, and they kind of won decisively. But they went in there and stole a win, so now they have home court advantage. How do they respond when they have their own crowd, which is louder?
Right.
And what happens then? Is it going to be like another Game 1, or are they going to run away with it? It's really exciting, but right now, I think that'll be the definitive part of the series because. It is kind of like a turning point in the game, and it'll actually tell you kind of like how lukewarm the series is going to be.
I think one of the things that you're going to see too is that the problem with the Thunder is that the Thunder tend to be their own worst enemy. They're a big-time turnover machine. This is one of the big problems.
Right.
And they also, the Warriors have this problem too. They are a big turnover machine as well, but they tend to capitalize off of turnovers from other teams more than the Thunder do, right? So in this last game, for instance, right? This last game, they actually locked down defensively very well in the second half. They limited Durant to 6 points. Westbrook was pretty much non-existent for most of the game, even though he played pretty well. He played pretty well. He had over like 22 points or something like that. He wasn't allowed fixture in the game, right? So I think that, and then they blew them out pretty well. I think they beat them by like 27, I think is what they beat them.
Yeah, it was like
118-91 is what they beat them out, right? I think what you're seeing in the second game is the game of the adjustments of the things that needed to happen. The Warriors hadn't played in like about 3 or 4 days since that point, and again, Curry was still not all that well. And then in this game, in the second game, he looked much better. He was a little bit more spry. He was actually
looser.
he was out there.
And
He was
let's
out.
let's go back to what we were talking before we got on to Golden State. Let's go back to the Spurs because you're talking adjustments, and that was another thing that we didn't see is that there were no
Game one.
adjustments. And I hate to say that there was no adjustments. What I should say is there was no execution of adjustments because I'm sure there were tons of adjustment that Pop wanted to happen, and it just did not happen. Again, we saw the weak transition defense. The turnovers were really bad. But I think the thing that killed us, again, beating a dead horse, was not being able to create an offensive shot. We had no offensive weapon that could match the athleticism of Durant or Westbrook.
And it goes to show you the fact that they had second chance points, third chance fourth time, opportunities just to get a ball in there.
Right.
And
it was those offensive rebounds. Offensive rebounds killed us.
That, like you said, transition. It's everything that you guys were saying that concerned you. And I regret not listening to you and just kind of saying that you guys are just full of crap.
Well, and another thing,
not to worry about the regular season, but here we are. I mean,
exactly. We're on
what
vacation already,
Yeah.
And isn't it sad that we could possibly be the biggest upset of the whole damn playoffs?
Oh, no, I think we are. I think we
not
straight
yet.
up are.
Well, not yet. If the Warriors lose, then they will be.
Yeah, then there you go.
I'm hoping for that to happen. Jeez.
But I think Pop brought in Boban a little bit earlier to try to see if he could help with those offensive rebounds. Boban didn't do much. Didn't last really long out there. He was getting some really bad calls. I there was just no answer. We had nobody to step up and be that Robert Horry type player that we really need. That Sean Elliott. We didn't have anybody.
Mario Ellie.
Exactly.
That kind of.
We did not have that player that stepped up and helped us push over to the next round. It just didn't happen.
And I think that's what they need to really look at in the next year to come is they need to find a shot creator. They need to find an athletic big, which is everybody wants an athletic big. But I mean, you really need to concentrate on finding athletic big, especially if Duncan's gone.
Right.
If Duncan's gone, then you have Aldridge as the option, and we just saw what happened to Aldridge.
Exactly.
Aldridge got absolutely owned by their front line. He just absolutely. I mean, he played well for about four games of the 6 of the games, right?
Right.
But I mean, scoring wise,
defensive wise, he wasn't there.
He just got hammered.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what you need to really, really concentrate on, I think.
Anyways, all this talk is making me depressed.
And then we're going to get into more depressing
things. We're
things.
going to get more depressing things, yeah. But I think, buddy, it's time for the news. What do you think?
I think so.
There's a lot of coaching hires that we should talk about, or about to be hired, I guess you could say. Oh, hello, Mr. Typewriter. At least the typewriter's not on vacation. And actually, the typewriter's probably going to start getting a whole lot more work.
Why is that?
Because we are going to hit free agency, which means all the wonderful rumors and crazy stuff that happens during free agency.
Why don't we start early for some reason? Let's just get it done.
Let's just do it now.
Durant, we know you're still playing right now. Do you want to just sign with us now and just be done with it?
So, of course, there is the Orlando Summer League, the Las Vegas Summer League, and the Utah Summer League for basketball. The Spurs have committed to playing in Utah and Las Vegas. The big news out of Houston is that it looks like the leading candidate to become head coach is Mike D'Antoni.
Ugh.
Which I think, if it is D'Antoni, I think it really tells you that Dwight Howard is on his way out because they didn't get along together in
Let
LA.
Frank tell you the ways of how much he loves Mike D'Antoni.
How much do you love D'Antoni?
Oh, I don't like him at all. So I realize there's a reason why he's there. I mean, what better coach to handle a heaping pile of steaming garbage than D'Antoni? I mean, he can only get you so far and then lose in the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and then the crazy thing is the Rockets, I think you can throw Memphis in this as well. They interviewed like 20-plus applicants.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely insane how many coaches they've interviewed, and I guess they're deciding on
But
D'Antoni.
you have to say that Memphis is in sort of in a better situation than Houston, right? Let's say you get rid of Howard, right? And you bring D'Antoni in. What exactly is D'Antoni going to bring to a team like Houston that doesn't actually play all that well as a cohesive unit?
I have no idea.
It just doesn't make any sense why you'd want to have him there.
I have no. I'm assuming that Houston's thinking we get rid of Howard's contract. We could probably go after a big fish. Probably enter the Durant sweepstakes. Try to reunite him with Harden.
I think part of the problem.
That's basically. I don't know.
I only think Howard is part of the problem. The other one is Harding. I mean, how are you going to bring in someone who's proven that he can't get along with other people?
Yeah.
I would really like to see him play defense instead of just.
Harden doesn't play defense.
No, I would like
to. He just stands there and looks pretty with his beard.
Harden means in German, no defense.
The Orlando Magic have reached an agreement on a 4-year, $22 million deal with ex-Pacers head coach Frank Vogel. Indiana, that's a great pickup for them. And Memphis, Houston, Indiana is also doing the crazy interviewing as well. And then we heard it the other day. Then it came back and said, no, this isn't happening. Well, this evening, the New York Knicks are supposed to announce that Jeff Hornacek is their new head coach, which that hire I don't understand. I thought he did horrible in Phoenix. But whatever, that's just me.
It's branding, your name recognition, I guess.
But I know he's very, very well liked, and I think that's the reason why
Jackson got along with him very well, and he told him already right off the bat that they're not going to have to play the triangle, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I have to say he's giving up those reins a little bit. I was like,
Yeah, and then the Pacers hired Nate McMillan. He was an assistant.
That's a stupid hire.
I think so too. But again,
did you see some hilarious stat about that, by the way?
No, which one?
That he actually has one of the lowest winning percentages of a coach that's like been on the way out. So like in the last so he coached like 7 years in Portland or something like that. Yeah. Of those 7 years in Portland, his first year was the most successful, and every year after that, for 7 years, they went consistently down until he got fired. So then you ask yourself, what exactly did he show you that actually would prove him to be a good head coach now?
Yeah.
And they were talking about playing a high-paced offense, right? That's what Larry Bird wants. It's high-paced offense, high-paced offense.
He's another GM that needs to go.
Well, no, Nate McMillan ran one of the worst-paced offenses in the history of the league when he was with the Blazers. Hey. So, what exactly are you doing?
Yeah. The NBA announced its all-rookie first team. Karl Anthony Towns, Kristaps Porzingis, Devin Booker, Nikola Jokic, Jahlil Okafor are your first team. Interesting, Boban and Jonathan Simmons both got votes for second team.
That's pretty cool.
They got 2 votes, but hey, they got votes.
They got votes. They weren't unanimous.
6 games right there.
Was this the year of the unanimous pick thing? There was
I
2
guess
unanimous
so. Yeah.
picks
So Curry and then Towns. Yeah.
You're going to see now that they've broken the ice. I mean, you're going to see more of that.
Whatever, it makes me throw up in my mouth.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm very curious to see Grizzlies are really interested in Heat assistant David Fizdale and also Spurs assistant James Borrego. And supposedly Borrego's kind of the front runner to get that position. So that'll be interesting to see. And if he does go, it'd be interesting to see who the Spurs replace him with. Seth Curry and James Anderson have officially opted out of their contracts with the Sacramento Kings, and I don't blame them.
They're running for their lives.
Was it Vladi?
It was Vladi. I think so. I still say Vladi. Need to get rid of Vladi.
Blah, blah.
Oh, and another thing, back to the D'Antoni thing going to Houston. Remember when I said week before last, because I didn't want to do news last week because I was so pissed at the Spurs. Van Gundy was the leading candidate, and now he's completely gone. No mention of Van Gundy. Really weird. I don't know what happened there, but it is all about D'Antoni.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
I still don't understand the reasoning for that, but whatever.
Yeah. The Rockets also interviewed Ettore Messina, but I guess they don't want Messina.
Who doesn't want Messina? Why?
I don't know.
I can't believe
everybody wants to interview him, but nobody wants to hire him.
You fired Nate McMillan over at Ettore Messina?
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
All this screams Phoenix all over again.
And then I know Frank's going to love this one. The Philadelphia 76ers did get the #1 overall draft pick.
Thank you, Dikembe.
And are heavily leaning towards selecting Ben Simmons with that pick.
Duh.
Illuminati, Dikembe Mutombo, who tweeted out and said that congrats to the Sixers on getting the pick a couple of hours before. And then when people were like, how do you know? He quickly deleted that tweet.
Shall we go into discussion about this at all?
We surely can. What do you think, buddy? I don't have any more news, so I say we'll go into the whole draft thing.
This is just a small discussion, okay?
All right.
The thing is that let's just say they do an investigation about this and they find out
they will.
They find out that there's any inkling of this being set up. Oh my God, what does this do for the NBA? What happens, you think? Does it just blow up everybody's like, okay, you see everybody jumping off the roof in the NBA?
I wonder if this is lighting the fuse because a lot of teams want to get rid of this lottery,
Right?
Like the way that it runs and everything. And I wonder if this is the lighting of the fuse to blow that up.
And you have to ask yourself, why not just do what other leagues do and just
like
give
the
it,
NFL. Yeah.
Well, give the worst team the top pick and be done with it. I mean, and everything went the way that it was supposed to go in that order,
Right.
In this lottery. And I think if it hadn't gone that way, everybody would have freaked out. But just do it that way, and then you just leave the whole transparency thing out the window. Like the NBA is about this word now, transparency.
Right.
It's
yeah,
the stupidest word for
thing
them ever. And it doesn't help them at all. Like, I just don't get why you need the lottery.
Yeah, stupid. And I did want to mention two last things. First off, I forgot to mention that Terry Stotts did sign an extension for 3 years, $5 million a year with the Portland Trailblazers.
Good for him.
And then also want to announce that what's his name? The Coyote isn't the Coyote anymore. I can't think of his name now. Wilcott.
Well, explain why, Ray.
Not gonna have a job
So
anymore.
he made a press release saying that he would
not gonna
no
have a job.
longer be the Spurs Coyote. He loved it. Thanks for the memories. Blah blah blah. Also mentioned because he has been suffering from arthritis. He was diagnosed. Basically, it kind of seems like his body was deteriorating. But that wasn't the reason why supposedly he left. And his name was Rob Wilcall. My bad. I didn't have it in front of me.
You had the Will.
But Rob, I did have Will. So Rob supposedly was actually fired for flicking off a Memphis fan during that series in the Coyote costume.
Ooh.
Now, I don't have confirmation on that, but I've heard it repeatedly from different people. So I guess that's that. Anyways.
And I get that you have to protect your brand. I mean, the main thing in advertising, the one rule is you always protect the brand. We're talking about a guy in a suit. So you could say, yeah, we'll fire him. And who's to say he's not going to come back a week later? Are you going to lift his mask up and say, oh, that's him, that's it? Like, who's looking at his pay stub? I mean,
I don't know.
It's actually quite funny. And San Antonians don't care. So what part of the brand are they protecting here?
No clue. Anyways,
Illuminati.
That's the news. Let's see what else. We got brand new Spurs in the city. Clay sent that in, so we will have that for you today on the podcast. We'll be talking about the past and future of the Spurs. What does Spurs got to do this summer to get better? We'll also have some new crazy stories of the week and our crazy Facebook post of the week as well. You are listening to Go Spurs Go Memes. We'll be back. And we're back, and it's time to talk Spurs. I don't even know where to start.
You feeling that bad?
It's not that I feel that bad. It's just kind of like I really was at least hoping for another round. Like, we should have had a game last night.
You look like the guy like a kid who wanted an Xbox for Christmas, but instead got his PlayStation. And you're like,
no, but we don't want it. We didn't even want that.
No,
Though.
it's
It's like we
PlayStation
wanted
2.
the Xbox for Christmas, and we got like a Shopkins doll,
right.
or something. I don't know.
It's something silly like
something
that.
completely way off that we didn't want, and we're just gonna have to sit there and look at it. And that's what we're getting the Warriors.
Yeah, and then plus two, I mean, we heard all about the Durant stuff. Us losing to the Thunder lessens the chance that even though it was already pretty small, but why would he want to come to a team that he helped beat?
exactly.
Doesn't make any sense now. I mean, whatever. Still come, Kevin. We'd love to have you. But that's one of the things that kind of just upsets me. And then two, I hated to think that was Timmy's last game.
Especially
Him
when he got blocked.
running into that tunnel in Oklahoma City could potentially be the last game. And Clay said it best, and I had to make a meme about it, and some people liked it and some people really hated me for it. But Clay made the point last week when he said, Ginobili and Duncan, the next time you see those jerseys here in San Antonio, could be in the rafters. And it's a very valid point. And Clay could be true. We don't know what the guys want to do. Do they have another year in them? According to this playoff series, they don't.
No.
And I hate to say it that way, but you really saw it from the two of them. They were like, yes, Timmy had an amazing Game 6. He gave it his all because he did not want to go out that way. Kawhi gave it his all in that last quarter because he did not want Timmy to go out that way. And so, it's really sad to think that the era of Tim Duncan could be over. The era of Ginobili could be over as well.
And if it was going to be over, man, why couldn't it just be a Game 7 on your home court?
Right.
I mean, that would have been fantastic. And I think that's kind of like the bitterness right here is the fact that, I mean, he said goodbye to away fans is essentially what it was. And
then, too, I think about it, just like you said, you'd want to say goodbye to your fans, your home court. But that's a stupid reason to come back. Just for that. Exactly. You know what I mean? That's a stupid reason to just come back. Well, I want to say goodbye to everybody.
But it's more acceptable, though. I mean, because
you are right.
It's a Game 7. You're going to give it your all. And really, the better team wins in a Game 7, obviously.
But I'm not even talking about Game 7. I'm saying, it's a stupid reason for him to come back for an entire season to be able to say goodbye to the fans. That's what I'm talking about.
I like Kobe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, and that's the last thing Timmy would want. Mm-hmm. And so I know they've already said Tim Duncan, Manu, and Pop will meet in the upcoming weeks to kind of talk about what's going to happen because it is free agency time. We are going to make a run at Durant. We know that's going to happen. And I think we might make a run at other people. I know right after that game, the name that popped out right away was Mike Conley, that the Spurs would go after him. And I think that it kind of addresses what we've been saying for a while, is that we need another point guard. Yes, Patty Mills is the backup, but Patty Mills is not the answer. We saw that in this playoff series. He couldn't do anything. He didn't have a shot. We need a much stronger point guard to back up Tony. And hell, I would even dare say we probably need to start prepping for when Tony's gone. Tony did okay this series. He did really well in the Memphis series. But Tony as well has his moments where he completely disappears and we have no offense coming in. And we've said it repeatedly, beating a dead horse again, but the Spurs go the way of their guards. If the guards play horribly, the Spurs lose. Green and Parker just really didn't bring anything to the table this last series, and the Spurs are out of the playoffs.
I think that one of the things that you're going to have to see as well is you think that you're going to need, I think, a better, and I've already said it, a better big man.
Right.
Somebody.
Bye-bye, Bobo.
Bye-bye, Bobo.
Bye-bye, Bobo.
So where does this go to? You get rid of Bobo. You have to get rid of Bobo.
Yep.
You maybe even think about getting rid of maybe even like West, maybe, depending on if he can fit in the system, because you saw his limitations big time in this kind of series.
Right,
he's too slow. He's undersized.
But to be fair, he's a power forward. He's not a center.
But think about where you put him.
Right.
Every matchup that they had with him against the Thunder, he was completely outmatched. There was nothing that he could do very well against any of that team.
No.
So you ask yourself, when it comes against other teams, like, the upper echelon teams, that's where you're going to have those issues from. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you got to find players that fill holes that you need, like, immediately.
Right.
The point guard thing is a very important thing. Conley, I think, I think that's more doable than Durant, to be honest with you. And Conley can create a shot. Yeah. Conley is a great shooter when he's on. But he's a great creator, though.
Right.
And so I think he's now. Then what do you do with Mills? Then I mean, you're not getting rid of Parker. I mean, unless
Parker's not. No. Parker's not going anywhere. He will be a Spur for the rest of his career. His jersey will be retired at AT&T Center.
So then you get rid of Mills. Then
I think the three candidates that we have to be wiped off of the Spurs roster are Bobo, Boris Diaw, Danny Green, because he gets paid $10 million a year.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think that puts a big mark on his back, especially because, he did have some great games during the playoffs, but he just wasn't there every single game. Yes, he did do have some great defensive moments, but again, he just wasn't there. And I think that you heard the fans say it. I think you would see it from the Spurs staff that he could be somebody to say goodbye to. And then so Green, Diaw, and Patty Mills. And I think that Boris Diaw, if the Spurs are going to get rid of him, he'll be gone by June 30th. Because if he's waived by June 30th, the Spurs can then spread out the $3 million that he's guaranteed over, I think, 5 years, 6 years. So we only take, I think it's like a $200,000-$300,000 hit to the salary cap. So that kind of helps us there to go after bigger fish. But essentially, if we do go after a bigger fish, whether it's a Durant that's going to command a max salary or a Connolly that feels that he's worth a max salary, I don't know if Connolly's a max player, but I think he feels that he is. Basically, the rest of our roster has to be a lot of veteran minimums.
All right.
So I think you go ahead and you keep Jonathan Simmons. He doesn't get paid tons anyways, rookie deal. You keep Boban, same thing, doesn't get paid tons, has that rookie deal still. You probably keep David West. If he picks up the player option, it's still a vet min. It's not. I think it's a little more than a vet min, but it's still not tons. And then it just depends on what Duncan and Ginobili do as well. Because if they both decide to retire, then we have even more space, and we need to fill those spots. And that's where you start to question, like, okay, who else is out there that the Spurs can get?
So here's another thing to think about, too. The Spurs, we can just pretty much guarantee this, right? Okay, let's think about things that we know probably are going to happen, right?
Yep.
Number one, we probably know that Duncan's done. Can we all agree on that?
I don't know. I could totally see them convincing him to come back another year.
God, but okay.
But I would say that what they need to do is, if he does come back, he needs to opt out and take a minimum.
We need to know quickly, though.
Yes,
we
it
do we
has
agree
to
that
be.
We need to know now.
We have to know quick, because once the NBA Finals are over, mid-June, everything's going to start building up to free agency in July.
So that's my point here is, like, what is the main piece that has to fall for everything to come into place? Is it his retirement?
Well, you need to know if he's retiring, and we need to know if Ginobili's retiring.
Well,
we need to know those two things.
Here's the thing. You really don't. And the reason for that is because we own the bird rights to Ginobili and Duncan. So if they haven't decided yet, they want to opt out of their contracts, whatever they want to do, it doesn't really matter, because the Spurs can make their moves and we can still sign those two back. It'll push us over the cap. We just paid the luxury tax, but it doesn't really affect who we're going after or whatever, as long as we make room by getting rid of other players.
So what you're talking about is essentially we're not paying them big money if they come back. I got you.
Okay, so then here's the next thing then.
Yep.
So things we know again. We know that the roster is going to change.
Right. We know that's going to happen.
And we're talking about not small changes, though. We're talking about drastic changes.
Probably.
Do we agree on this?
Yes.
So then the next thing we know is we're probably going to get somebody who's pretty either drastically different than what we've used to have. So we're looking at a Conley. We're looking at possibly a Durant. We're looking at maybe even Jordan Clarkson or something like that.
Yeah, his name's been thrown around.
That's a weird name, but
yeah.
But you know what I mean. In other words, we're talking about these players who are completely different players that are more athletic, some things that we're not used to seeing.
Exactly.
We're definitely going to get one of these. Do we agree with this?
Yes, that's exactly what the Spurs are going to go after.
Right.
And I really hope, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do this with our draft pick, but we really need to start looking at point guards, whether we draft them and stash them, send them to D-League, whatever.
That drafting and stashing thing needs to stop, though, man.
Yeah,
I mean, how many draft and stash have we done now?
But if you think about it, though, look how far back we are in these picks. We aren't getting people that are ready to be in the NBA, so we kind of have to do that.
The Warriors got Draymond Green. He was like 20-something.
I hate that guy.
I hate him with the passion. But you can find somebody. That's what I'm saying. They do this draft and stash thing because of the fact that they figure, one day down the road it'll happen. It's one of these guys that we stashed. He's torn his ACL twice across the league. I'm like, come on, really? I was like, the one thing I did hear that we were thinking about getting that guy late first round was that Thon Maker guy.
Yeah, his name was thrown around. I also heard Gary Payton II. That they would be going after him as well. And they rave about how great he is defensively. I really haven't paid attention to the kid, so I have no idea. I haven't started looking at the draft
that Thon Maker guy, dude, that guy
stuff
freaks
like
me out, man.
Yeah?
He's 17 years old. He's a damn freak. You think about Kevin Garnett, but a lot faster.
Oh, wow.
That's what he looks like.
And today's Kevin Garnett's birthday. Did you know that?
Yes, 40 years old.
40 years old?
Did you know that, Frank?
Happy birthday.
Oh, now I know it. Thank you.
Well, okay, so now that we talked about the things that we know are going to happen, what are the things that we know that are not going to happen?
I don't think Tony's going anywhere.
That's a shame.
That's the big thing for me. We know Pop ain't going anywhere. We know Kawhi and Aldridge are going to stay on the roster. And I think anybody else is just kind of up to what Pop and the crew want to do.
Isn't it crazy that only Parker, Leonard, and Aldridge are the safe people?
I really think those are the only safe people.
Those are the only three safe people on the whole team. That's a crazy, crazy thought when you think about it.
It's just nuts. But oh well, we have to wait till October for preseason to come back. We need to go get
drunk for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Anyways, we'll be back in a bit.
Hey everybody, Clay here with the Go Spurs Go Memes podcast. I'm your correspondent on the street with Spurs in the city, and I'm at a loss for words. Ladies and gentlemen, the San Antonio Spurs have been eliminated by the Oklahoma City Thunder Ugh. In the second round of the 2016 NBA playoffs, and folks, it hurts me. It hurts me to even talk about it. What a shocking turn of events. The poor play, the terrible rebounding, no juice off the bench. It all fell flat. And on top of all else, it could have been the very last time we saw Manu Ginobili and Tim Duncan in a Spurs uniform. There's a lot going on here, Spurs fans, to comprehend. So I'm going to go ask Spurs fans what they think about the elimination and how they're going to deal with seeing two legends potentially right away in this week's Spurs in the City in memoriam of the 2016-2015 NBA season and playoffs. How do you feel about the Spurs losing to the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 6 of the Western Conference playoffs? What do you think?
We got outplayed, bottom line.
Are you feeling like maybe sad about it?
Yeah, I'm very disappointed.
Would you say you were pissed when it happened?
My blood was boiling.
That's unhealthy. What are you going to do now that the NBA season is over? What's the next sport you're looking forward to? Rugby?
No.
Badminton?
Not.
Shuffleboard?
I do like shuffleboard. I'm a fan of shuffleboard. I will, however, probably focus on the NFL and the preseason and looking to see who's going to be the, standouts.
And are you sad to see potentially Tim Duncan? What's your favorite Tim Duncan Ginobili memory, or are you just sad to see him go in general? What do you think the whole of the team's going to be?
Well, I don't know that anybody's already decided, have they?
No, but I mean, this is a potential. It's a hypothetical. Very, very real potential. It's like Jurassic World. You knew the dinosaur was going to get out eventually. We have one dinosaur on the Spurs team that's thinking about getting out. Do you think about running amok?
Ginobili wouldn't horribly disappoint me, with Tim and I feel like if both of them left, that would be a big hit in terms of the heart of the team of the Spurs, because that's two. But if it's just Ginobili,
Does it make you cry?
No.
I did. I cried man tears. How do you feel about the Spurs being eliminated by the Oklahoma City Thunder? And what is your name?
My name is William.
And what do you think?
I think they got ripped off.
Ripped off by who? Ooh, conspiracy.
Sure it was. I think I'd call it maybe the commissioner decided to tell the Spurs to lose.
So you think the commissioner gave the refs marching orders, and that's why there were so many bad calls?
Sure, why not?
Are you going to be okay without the Spurs on TV?
They'll be back.
Well, yeah, next season. But what are you going to do this summer? What's your next favorite sport to watch?
WNBA. Rabbit season.
Rabbit season. Oh, those poor rabbits. Just around the corner. Skipping duck season, going straight to rabbit season. If you can compare the Spurs to an animal, what would it be?
They would be a meerkat team.
Why would they be a meerkat team?
Because they work together, protect the pups and protect their territory against any other meerkats that come in.
I got some bad news, though. There's a couple old meerkats that are going to be leaving the den potentially this summer. How do you feel about Meerkat Duncan and Meerkat Ginobili running off into the savannah?
Well, it's like the boys like to be boys.
These guys are more than boys. They're old men. What do old meerkats do?
Well,
outside of dying, what do old meerkats do?
Stay alive.
So, they're going to BG it, folks. You know, guys, even members of the crew are reacting to the Spurs loss. Jack, the intern, Jack, I'm heartbroken. My season's over. What am I going to do?
You're going to wait 104 days for football.
Son of a gun. Jack, what do you think about the Spurs being eliminated?
It's sad. I was hoping they would do better, but it's not really unexpected. I think the team's age finally held up with them, or caught up with them. And, OKC happened to be the better team. They finally figured out how not to lose a game.
I hate how level-headed you are.
Sorry.
What do you think about Duncan and Ginobili, presumably not wearing silver and black next season?
I think they've had a great career. I think they should be celebrated. I know, he's not going to do this whole Kobe's last year retirement party. I think they both hang him up.
Yeah, neither did Robinson. Robinson said he was going to retire at the end of the season regardless, but he didn't do a farewell tour, so you're right. Yeah.
So we're going to have a great party on the river for him, and they will forever live in Spurs infamy, probably get a couple of statues downtown. He could be the new mayor. You never know.
I hope so. I could look up to that guy. Get it? Look up because he's almost 7 foot. You get
6'11".
Son of a, I hate how many facts that guy has in his head. And I found myself here at the San Antonio Zoo. What's your name?
Mark.
Mark, and I see you have a Spurs shirt on. Mark.
Still representing.
Yeah, you're still representing. The Spurs got eliminated. You know that.
Yes, they did.
How you feel about that?
Sad, heartbroken.
What do you think the Spurs could have done better?
More offensive rebounds, more defense, more hustle.
Maybe score more points than the other team.
Exactly, yeah.
Than the other team.
First game was amazing. Second, third game, they just got tired. So anymore, I guess some players got to go, honestly.
Who do you think's got to go for next season?
Bonner.
Get rid of. He's not going anywhere. Listen, there's a conspiracy theory.
Bonner, Martin.
No one can kill the Red Mamba.
Red Mamba to cut his head off.
They need to give Martin more playing time, don't you think?
Yeah, but sometimes the time he played, he wasn't really impressive to me.
What else do you think the last time you may see Tim Duncan or Ginobili in a Spurs uniform? How does that make you feel?
Very sad, heartbroken.
Do you think they need a statue in the middle of downtown?
Duncan, yes. Ginobili, I don't know about Ginobili.
What about at least the West Side?
No.
Not even the West Side. Golly.
They had graffiti on.
Argentinian graffiti.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen, just like everyone else, you're feeling the pain.
Yeah.
Guys, as you can see, a lot of people not feeling it. The Spurs lost. It's okay. We're going to get back at it next season. Go Thunder? Who are you going for?
Golden State, so we can get Durant.
Yeah, I can see that. Go Raptors. Toronto! Yeah, San Antonio just went Canadian. I'm just kidding. Hey, signing off from the street, this is your Spurs in the City, your correspondent Clay, with Spurs in the City for the Go Spurs to Go Means podcast. Sending it back to the guys in studios. Listen, I'm going to say it all season, even in the off season. So anyway, go Spurs, go!
That shit's always so damn funny.
Stop laughing at that.
I don't know when we're going to stop laughing at that. But anyways, that music means that it's time for crazy stories of the week. Buddy, what's going on in Crazy Land?
Not much. It's, the world is so crazy. And, we have a lot of priorities in our lives, family, job, things like that. But the Senate obviously has a very big priority for us, right? So let me read you the title of this one, right?
Nope.
Senate bill including amendment aimed to limit stripper weight.
and age, mind you.
Wow.
So the way the story goes is, and I'm going to read the first sentence of it, Louisiana State Senate bill intended to restrict the age of employees at strip clubs includes a proposed amendment to limit employed strippers' weight. The amendment was withdrawn before the House could vote on the bill. So I want to know who exactly thought it was a great idea to add the weight thing into there.
What was the point of that?
This is what I want to ask Frank about, because actually I'm going to credit
Frank. What was the point of it?
I'm going to credit Frank with this, because Frank was the one who sent this to me, and I was just like, man, how did he find this? And then I want to know what he thought might have happened.
Frank was creeping on C-SPAN again.
Well, with all the pornographic sites that I quite frequent, it's only a matter of time before a story on the columns gets my attention. So what this is, I believe, I kind of skimmed through the article, but basically a Tennessee state legislature. Is it, or is it
Louisiana.
the actual? From Louisiana. Basically wanted to limit the age to, I think, 22 to 27.
21 to 28.
21 to 28, okay. And I think the weight limit is
160.
160, which is modest. I mean, but I'm surprised he didn't have a height size or anything like that. So once again, this is priorities up there. Usually when you have something like this, you usually put up a bill and then remove it to say, well, I removed that bill because it was stupid.
Right.
Even though they were the ones who introduced it to the legislature. And I'm wondering whether or not this is one of those cases here. But as you can see, it was removed quite rapidly, or sometimes you want to force the hand of the other side to say, wait, you're dumb. Okay, well, let's renegotiate and let's go from there.
Apparently that part of it was an actual amendment to the actual bill, the Senate Bill 468, and they withdrew that amendment and they passed the bill. So the bill did pass, ironically enough. But the thing is that for whatever reason, somebody later down the road thought, you know what, we need to add the fat people in there.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of that Simpsons episode where all of Springfield is underneath the dome, and they're in the U.S. Senate trying to pass a bill that would allow them to like get them out of the dome.
Well, it was a comet smashing into.
Was it
the
a comet?
Yeah, that's what it was. And so what it was that they were going to come up with some money to help them out, to evacuate the Springfielders. And so one guy says, "I'd like to put a rider on that bill." He goes, $100 million for the perverted arts. And they're like,
no,
they're like, rescue Springfield perverted arts bill. And they're like, no. Motion passed. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, democracy doesn't work.
So I have a good crazy story of the week. So the one, the only Randy Macho Man Savage, the WWE announced that they are releasing a brand new documentary on the Macho Man, and they will be addressing something that has been rumored for a very, very long time. So the big rumor goes that when she was 17 years old, Stephanie McMahon, daughter of Vince McMahon, the owner, had an affair with Randy Macho Man Savage.
That means sex.
Yes. So underage sex with the Macho Man, and it's been a big rumor. There were even times where Stephanie's come out to talk to audiences, and they start chanting Macho Man, it's a well-known thing that the WWE has never addressed, but supposedly in this new documentary, they're actually going to address it. And as we all know, Macho Man Randy Savage died a couple years ago in a car accident.
Stop the rapture, mind you.
Yeah, so I don't know about that, but I thought that was pretty insane. Anyways.
God, I don't even know what to think about all that.
Well, you got to think about the whole culture of wrestling. That's got to be one hell of a ride if you're a wrestler up there, because you're talking people, drugs, steroids, sex whenever you want it, willing and unwillingly, apparently.
Yeah.
And then this stuff. And look, obviously he's dead now, so he's gotten away with it. And it's just amazing what this whole culture is. And it hasn't stopped.
It's just insane.
It really is a rock star. It's separate from being a rock star. You might as well just say, I'm living the wrestler lifestyle.
And it's sort of crazy, though. You have to think about it. It's like they let them live a destructive lifestyle by nature.
Completely, because it's great for the cameras.
And
because it all goes to the cameras, too.
And that really says a lot about human nature in reality.
I'm kind of sad that we did that story without Clay, because Clay would be going nuts, right? He would have loved it. Anyways. All right, so it's time for our crazy Facebook post of the week. So, on May 17th at 9:14 p.m., I put up a wonderful post of a GIF meme where it had Will Ferrell's Anchorman in the telephone booth crying. And I put on there, Spurs are out of the playoffs and Emilio is dead. San Antonio is not about this life. And it was received pretty well, I would say. It had 814 emoticons, I guess you'd call it. 104 comments, but the thing that made me laugh is that it was shared 501 times. And the reason why I bring this story up is because I guess I really pissed off some people. So I had Janet Alvarado that said this was tacky. So my response to her was, you must be new here. And it was liked 18 times. Take that.
Thank you, Janet.
I also got some people saying that it was unfair of me to do that to Emilio's family, that it was rude. And I'm like, I don't think you understand the meme. Like, I really don't think you got it.
Well, two things. First of all, I don't think his family are fans of your meme to begin with. I don't even know if they know what it is.
Right.
But you did say like something like like May sucks or something. What was it?
I said May sucks because it was a sucky month for us.
Because
the Spurs are out. Emilio's dead. It's a sucky month.
It was in honor of Emilio, not necessarily making fun of him, but it's just it's like taking this type of grief and then projecting it out in something a little bit less painful, I guess. And keep in mind, I mean, we do acknowledge Emilio in his contribution to Tejano, because honestly, if you didn't have Emilio, you wouldn't have that span in the 90s where it just took off.
Right.
I mean, because at the same time you had
he was Tejano.
Yes, and it was a household name. I can't tell you, I didn't listen to Tejano that much, but I guarantee you it was so big that I knew who the names were.
Right. And so I got told, not funny at all, not funny, poor taste, man.
I'll agree on that, on the not funny at all. But
people loved it. Not funny. Are you finished or are we done? Guess we're done, man. Go ahead and hit unlike. I really don't care. I was entertained, and a whole lot of other people were really entertained by it.
I mean, you're talking about the internet. This is something people took way too seriously.
Well, not just that, but I don't think they understand what San Antonio is not about this life means. Mm-hmm. I don't think they understood what that means.
No. Well, tell us what it means.
Well, there's not really much to explain. Mm-hmm. It just means like you don't want that. Like that's basically what it means. Like that you're not about this life. You don't want to live in a world where the Spurs are out of the playoffs and Emilio is dead.
That was going to be my point.
That's essentially what it means.
But I think people just tend to be very, very sensitive when it comes to Facebook more than the internet. And of course, people have their hot button issues. I do believe you had one commenter say the best thing about San Antonio is the Alamo, and someone even pissed on that.
Right, yeah.
And then so crazy. Everybody responded to that too. It's like, well, you suck.
Yeah,
we don't suck.
But anyways, like Frank said, you really have to think about all the contributions that Emilio had to San Antonio and to Tejano music. And in honor of that, here at Go Spurs Go Memes, we've decided in Emilio's honor, we are going to open a Big Red and we're going to pour it out for him. Rest in peace, Emilio. We got your back, bro. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the Go Spurs Go Memes podcast. I'd like to thank Frank and Buddy for joining me on this wonderful evening so that we could record this. We'll be back next week with episode number 39. This podcast can be heard on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Google Music. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And I got to mention too, thank you guys so much for your support. We passed 18,000 on Facebook yesterday.
Yeah, way to go.
So Go Spurs Go Memes keeps going up even though the Spurs are out of the playoffs. So thank you guys for the support. All right, guys. What else? Oh, yeah, the phone number. If you'd like to reach us and leave us a voicemail, you can reach us at 848-GO-SPURS. That's 848-467-7877. If we like your message, we will play it on the podcast. Yeah,
and give us all your Timmy love. Give us all your Manu Ginobili love, because that may be the difference between retirement and coming back a final season.
Very good point, Frank. All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you all next week. And as always, Go Spurs Go.
I was like, Emilio!